Boom! We are live. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you have been enjoying the glorious weather out there. This is awesome. I'm gonna be sweating by the end of this with these lights on here. This evening we have a really fun one. This is something we have never spoken to a brewery who operate like this before. So I'm super fascinated to get into it. But if I'm gonna do the intro first. I almost went to the sponsor read. You idiot! All right, 69. What's good, y'all? This is C-Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 69 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast, Adjunct series, Quarantine Edition. This evening, folks, we have a very special episode, as we always do. We never have unspecial episodes. But before we get into that, you know the vibes. Sponsor time. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff. They are a great company based out of Massachusetts who make things for humans with facial hair. They have 3 different beard products. They do a oil, a balm, and this one here I am holding, which is a beard sanitizer, or almost like a face sanitizer. As you probably have noticed, we don't really work with sponsors a ton. We're super picky with that type of stuff. I received these products in January. We decided to work with them in April. I use them every single day. I'm super happy with them. The team behind them are awesome humans. The actual products themselves are super dope. They have a real craft beer ethos behind them. So all of the product from the bottles to the liquid inside are all sourced locally in the US. None of it is imported from overseas or any cheaper kind of lower quality ingredients. They're all the essential oils that they use for the scents are from Hawaii, from a Reiki master who blesses them and sends it over. And everything is made from real products. So these two right here we'll talk about, they're called Shelter in Face, which is a pretty funny name. There's a blood orange and a key lime version, because apparently citrus, when you spray this on your face, citrus has awakening thing happening, he was telling me. But this stuff is super cool. So the main reason we decided to work with them is they do this thing called Beard Beer, which is they have an IPA and a stout one that are inspired by the IPA's main brewing's lunch. IPA, which is called Pale Ale, I believe, which is a classic in New England. And they're actually doing a Brewmaster series in collaboration with big breweries Lawson's, Why Am I Having a Blank, Trillium, Treehouse, Vitamin C, big names out there, which is super cool. Yeah, but these are super funny. And he said to me what you do is that, say you're running an errand or whatever, and you get back in your car or whatever it might be, give your face with the mask on a bunch of sprays, and it will sanitize your skin. It actually sanitizes your mask, and then you can give a few more sprays on your beard. As you massage it into your beard, it'll sanitize your hands as well, which is pretty dope. I've used these probably the least out of the other products. I need to keep it with me when I'm out or something like that. I think I like the idea of it all. But yeah, these guys are super cool. And of course, if we're talking about a product we got an offer, if you hit the link, everything's in the description, but we have the code BAOS21, so BAOS21 to get 15% off the order. These things sit around $20 each, just over, I think, which is pretty well priced for something that's only American made and all high quality local products. And if you buy 2 of them, that'll take you over $40, and that'll get you free shipping in North America. Mate, get one for yourself if you have a beard or a human with a beard that you enjoy and would like their beard to also be luxurious like this bad boy. Yeah, you see that, yeah. All right, so let's get to it. This evening, folks, we have been exploring these guys' beers for a couple years through a gentleman who we've had on the podcast a while ago. He made sure we got some when he was there, and I would thought it was just such a cool concept. I'm not going to go into exactly what it is because we're going to talk about that a lot, but I actually have finally got a chance to hang out with these guys and hear the full story. And of course, I have Noah Forrest from Beerism joining me to help the interview go down. So please welcome Jonathan and Mara of Brasserie La Ferme. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out. How you doing?
Hello, guys. Hello. Very good.
Fantastic.
Great. It's Friday.
All right, it's perfect. You guys are out in the beer garden. It's beautiful.
Yeah, nice, warm, almost summer weather, light wind. We're hearing the frogs making their noise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, maybe you'll hear them in the background.
That's sick. Frogs are amazing.
Nice.
Noah, good to see your face again, bro. It's been a while.
Been a minute or two.
But you're back in action, looking gorgeous as ever.
Yeah, thank you. I need a trim for the beard. But,
yeah, it's true. Last time
I could use some of that beard oil.
Oh, you probably could. You got a lot. You got a big joint there. Last time I saw you had the fresh lineup, the fresh moustache
Yes, I did. That's
shape.
true.
It was lit. I enjoyed that. You'd ask for that again. So, I digress. This evening, guys, I'm super excited to get into the story because, as like I was saying, I didn't want to spoil the surprise. I want to keep everyone listening and watching to hear about what you guys are doing. But we're going to start off cracking a beer, obviously. And we're going to start with this bad boy right here, your Bière de Table. Come on, camera. Please focus. There we go. And this is a perfect beer for a night like this. It's nice and warm. Tell us about this specific bad boy.
Yeah, Bière de Table, it's a simple beer, delicate beer. So it's, of course, Belgian inspired, like a small saison. It's 4% alcohol. We, despite this small grain bill, we strive to give a lot of aromas from the grain bill itself. We do a little dry up as well, and the mix of yeast as well is really present in this beer.
I love it.
Yeah, out of everything that I've gotten to try from you, I mean, I think I have a lot to say about some of the barrel aged stuff that you put out, but out of your core lineup, this was my favorite that you've done. I think that low percentage of alcohol really works well with Belgian like saisons and or just like beers that have that phenolic presence. It makes it slightly more complex. Like I'm not a big session IPA person or those types of beers. But it works like low ABV works really well with like lagers and beers like this. And I think this is a really solid beer. I like it a lot.
So, Greg, I know this is not your favorite style, the saison and Bière de Table, of course, but I think you tried it about a year and a half ago.
I did.
This version, you may find that it's a bit different, a bit more green, perhaps a bit more floral or herbal, if I can say. Maybe you'll enjoy this version a bit better.
I can definitely get the floral and herbal stuff. I kind of have grown to appreciate the style a little bit more. My main issue with anything that says on grisette or farmhouse type of thing is just the phenol. I just don't like that banana clovey bubble thing. That's really all it is. So if that's not super present, I'm good. I'm here for it. This is super great. I definitely echo Noah. I actually wanted to ask as well, with a beer like this, and I probably should have asked before I did it, but I poured all of the yeast in the thing. Is the yeast supposed to go in the glass, or are we supposed to leave that in the bottle?
It's really a question of preference. It will affect taste, but we tend to put it in the beer here. So that's our preference. And speaking of the yeast, I have a story about Bière de Table. Is the first brew we did when we opened the brewery was Bière de Table.
Okay.
And from that brew, there's the same mix of yeast in the Bière de Table and our saison. And so that's the same yeast we harvest batch after batch. We add some microbes along the way, but we never ditch this yeast. So it's really evolving beer, a living product, and to our taste, it's going on the good way. So we plan to keep on doing this for at least for the Bière de Table in the saison.
So which generation are we at now?
Good question. It's like a 20-something generation.
Wow.
Of yeast.
Yeast. And it's more batches than that because we often split. But
that's so cool.
Numerous microbes as well.
So obviously that would also impact the taste a little bit as opposed to the first batch that you tasted back in the day.
I think it was probably 2018. Maybe early 2019 at the latest. So it's only a couple years.
You know what? Perhaps it was the very first batch that we brewed. Actually, the one you guys tried.
Did David
start? That would have been when Plas brought it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So the very first batch we're not quite there now.
No, it's totally. This is beautiful. It's got a nice little lemony, citrusy vibe to it as well. I'm not really. Initially, I got more phenols, and I was like, well, maybe that's why I asked about the yeast. I was like, well, if I put the yeast in there, it might sort of mellow out. And I feel like there's no. It's like it just is. I appreciate. Funnily enough, Noah introduced me to this style when we first sort of hung out. Do you remember, Noah? We went to Vice Versa, and you were like, we have to get the Dunham Bière de Table. This is like 4 years ago, and I didn't really know what a Bière de Table was, and I really appreciated it ever since then.
I mean, that one was really unique too, in that it was, I think it was a blend of a few different beers, and I think they tossed in some acidic beers as well. So to kind of like just create this really low alcohol, well balanced beer that had just like tiny bit of acidic kick in the finish. But I think that one is a pretty unique one. I loved it for that low ABV and to get that kind of complexity out of it. But yeah, this one has evolved for sure. The like the phenolic profile it still carries that clove forward touch of bubblegum, but you're getting some earthiness, like almost on like a Brett kind of component of like less like barnyard, but more like just like dusty, like old books, that kind of thing. It's nice.
Yeah, this is really, really great, guys. The mouthfeel is phenomenal. The head is great, nice, that pillowy kind of foam. I really like this. I appreciate it more. It's funny that you noticed that, Mara. But yes, I really appreciate this specific. If I had to choose even out of those styles, I appreciate these by far the most. And it couldn't be more perfect for tonight. It's super refreshing. It's nice and light. You can drink them all night. It's really well done, guys. I love it.
Yeah, it's it's a perfect drink for to start your 5 à 7, like a little apéro type of drink, or it's also the perfect drink if you go to a sugar shack and you're eating all this very heavy food, very sugary food. This will just clean your palate and help you continue eating all that sugar and fat.
All that all those carbs. I love it. No, this is great, dude. So let's get into your story, because I feel like this is really where, like I've sort of been alluding to people who aren't familiar with what you do. Definitely want to hear about how you both got into craft beer and how that led to the brewery. And I guess as we get into that, you can explain sort of your approach. And real quick, Daniel is in the building. He just commented in Vancouver. He's checking in with the Crispy Boy. What's going on, bro? Yeah, tell us, how did you both get into beer, and how did this all come together?
Yeah, I'll start first, and then Jonathan can continue. So, I got into craft beer. I kind of enjoyed beer before meeting Jonathan, but definitely got more into it when I met him. Never thought I would ever own a brewery, let alone a farm, for that matter. I'm a city girl. I'm a lawyer. Have nothing to do with the beer business really per se, but I met Jonathan, and after we got married, he hit the big 4-0, and I don't know, got a bit of a midlife crisis, and wanted to change a bit his professional life. And so yeah, that's how we started thinking about the project. We visited some wineries. We visited some hop farms as well, in Europe and South America, and also in Quebec, of course. And we figured that if we were going to start a brewery, it needed to be a bit different. As you obviously know, there are so many breweries already in Quebec. We didn't want to be just, one more. And so, yeah, the farming aspect came naturally to us. We visited some, really nice estates. And so I thought, maybe we could have that as well. So yeah, that's Jonathan had been brewing for ages before, obviously before we started that, and we figured he could make a living out of it. And now we're the both of us trying to make a living out of it. So your thoughts, Jonathan?
Yeah, no, that's it. And on my side, I started to drink craft beer in the 90s. And at that time, it was like Uniro, Boreal. It was really at the beginning in Quebec. And I'm brewing for now more than 15 years. Yes. I was amateur before, so it was home brewing until we started this project.
Maybe you want to tell us about your first brew and how that came about?
It was not perfect. Well, it started. It was that's a complete like hazard. I had a friend, which his parent has stuff to make wine. Like they were putting everything outside and putting that to garbage. And my friend called me and said, "Hey, you have a house. Can you put that in your basement?" My only condition is that okay, but we need to do something with it. So we went to the shop to buy some wine making ingredients, and we can make beer as well. So in the shop, we decided to make beer instead of wine, and we made our first batch. Which was horrible, and we didn't knew what we were doing at that time. But from that time on, I kept to be obsessed with it and try to improve, buy books, learn online, and make many tests, and that's how it started. So that was hobby, almost an obsession at the same time. And but the brewery. It's the dream of every home brewer to have his brewery, but I was not pursuing that in a serious way. But like Noah said, we visited some estates and we said, okay, that's this return to earth thing where we grow our own stuff and then we make the beer with it. That's something different, something that allow us to be grounded and make our own product from the grain to the glass, and that was basically sounding really interesting. And being also naive of
very naive
all the work that is behind farming and operating a brewery at the same time and the beer garden and everything. But we would do it again, but. Man, that's a lot of work.
It all looks very good when you're a tourist and visiting and tasting, of course, and not exactly knowing or even imagining the amount of work it is. So we just went head first. Today, I don't know if I would do it again. But 4 years down the road, I can now say that it's getting better. It's getting a little bit more under control and a little bit more enjoyable. But that was hectic.
Oh gosh, I mean, sometimes a little bit under control is all you can ask for, I guess. That's that's such a huge thing to kind of dive in on. So I mean, like, neither of you had farming experience. Like, neither of you knew what you were doing. You're like, let's get a farm and a brewery.
I mean, they look like farmers.
You could never tell you're alone.
No, we had basically no experience. I had a grandfather which was a farmer, so when I was young, I saw some things.
It was in his blood.
Yeah, probably yes.
Not in mine, I can tell you.
So,
and just for fun, we went to help for the harvest in a up farm in Denham, and that's where we learned about hops, and was also a bit of the starting of the project, and we just felt that it would be great to do it, and then we said, okay, let's do it.
I love it. So you found, when you decided to do it and the farming thing, like, what came first? Did you set did you have to figure out growing? I imagine there was because you're growing the ingredients and then processing them and then using them for beer, you probably would have to start with whatever it's called, where you do the stuff to the land so you can dig stuff and plant things and whatever. and then when that's growing or whatever, then you can build the brewery because you need time for the stuff to grow. Like what did that look like? Because that's pretty fascinating that you guys just threw it all down.
So we started by, driving around looking for a land. That was back in 2016. It took us quite a few months, 4 or 5 months before we decided on the land we wanted to buy. So we purchased 105 acres piece of land. So that was at January 2017. And so, yes, as you said, step number one was to work the land and prepare the hop farm. So today we have 1 acre of hops. As you probably know, that requires quite some work. So we planted about 60 poles, 22 feet poles. Yeah. Anyways, super long poles that you have to plant to build up a trellis.
Just to people know up in the beer, but the plant itself need to grow going up in the air.
Okay.
Yes, and the hop goes up, and the standard is about 18 feet. So that's 80 feet of height. So that's why we need to set up wood poles with a big structure of metal wires to have all the ropes that the hop will climb to. That's quite of a
the strings
structure to pull.
Yeah.
On which the hops will curl around and go up all the way up. So so that was the first step.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first step in spring/summer 2017. We planted about 700 plants, hop plants, in end of June, early July. So that was 2016. Obviously, we had no harvest to speak of, except for maybe 5 or 6 little cones, cascade cones, right. That we, were so very happy to see. And we just dropped them in a glass of beer, just for the fun of it, because we were proud of having 5 or 6 cones. That was 2016. And so the first, somewhat decent harvest came in 2017, the following year.
18. Planted in 17.
Right.
Yeah,
sorry. Yes. I'm mixed up. It's been a while now. So,
which is quite soon because a plant requires about 3 years to become mature and give a good production.
A good yield.
Yeah, a good yield. But starting from year 2, we already harvest.
Yeah, we harvested and, a decent quantity, a decent yield. And obviously, the following year it was better and we're down to this year. Yeah. 18, 19, 20. No, this is going to be, the 4th year. Yeah. So we're expecting, if all goes well, of course, crossing our fingers. If all goes well, yes, so far so good. We had a good, good spring, good weather, and we have plenty of sun now with some rain. So hops need a lot of water, but they don't want to be drenched in water. The roots, they drink up a lot, but they don't want to be drenched in water. But so far so good. So that was step number 1, the hops. Then we moved on to building the brewery. There was absolutely nothing on the land except for grass. And so step number 2 was to actually build the brewery. So how many square feet?
Tricky question. Around 4,000.
Okay.
So it's a decent size brewery. So that took us about 2 years to, you know, from when we started building until
with all the equipment.
Yeah, with all the
everything,
equipment and
yes.
more than 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah. That's where I left my job at the moment because from the start, establishing the up yard, beginning of construction, we were both working full time in our previous job, and then I made this first.
Yeah, and I followed last summer.
Okay, that was as you were describing it, my first thought was like, what do you do? Like, because that's a little bit more of a waiting period than the average brewery who's just, you know, bought an existing building and just has to fit it out. Usually takes 6 to 12 months or something. That makes a lot of sense. You would have had to stay at your job, and therefore it probably took a little longer to really put the stuff together. You work your weekends and maybe taking days off and vacation days here and there. Okay, that's commendable, guys. I mean, that's crazy. So then Hopyard Brewery, and then what was the next thing there? I imagine there are a bunch of other, like, are you doing actual like wheat and rye and like yeah, the whole? Can you talk about that, because that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, sure. So we have in our 100-acre farm, we have 40 acres, which used to be like prairie,
pasture.
Pasture, yeah. So that we had to convert to make suitable to grow cereals. So now we have the first 20 acres converted. So this year we chose well. If I start from the beginning, first year we try ourselves at the barley.
Okay.
And yeah.
That was 2 years ago. That was in 2019.
18, I believe. And barley is tricky. That's the most difficult one to grow, and not to grow, but the quality of barley you need to be super to be able to malt. So because you need to malt the cereal afterwards, and also we our farm is organic. So we don't use pesticide on the.
There's no Roundup. There's no
nothing. So we start from a pasture with a lot of bad weeds and all kind of stuff. So we plow this, and then we try ourselves at barley the first year. We try to be early because this is what we have to do. But there was a freeze, so everything froze and died.
That was a disaster.
Yeah. So we planted again, and then. It was awfully wet during 1 month, and no fungicide, no nothing. So we had fungal disease on the barley. So during summer, the weed was higher than the barley itself. So
wow.
So that was the reality check of being a farmer. The first time you tried to grow barley. So we decided to mow everything, and then. Use this year as like green manure. I put everything back to the land, and then we tried ourselves with winter rye. Okay. And there's spring cereals and winter cereals. The difference is when you put the cereal in the ground. So spring cereal like barley, you do this at springtime and you harvest the following summer. Like with the winter rye, we planted in September. So after the regular harvest, the rye starts to grow, maybe 2-3 inches out of the earth. Winters come, and then everything comes to halt. And then the following spring, you don't have to do anything. The cereal grows back again. So. The advantage is that this growing period starts very early, as soon as it's hot enough and there's no snow, and you beat all the weeds because it starts to grow early. So that's good for that. But also, why we did rye, it's because there's we call it allelopathique in French, but similar in English. But complicated word to say that the roots of the plant emit some toxins that will kill or inhibit the other plants around to grow. So to clean out the field and get rid of the weed, that's a very good choice. So we had good success with this one. So we had a decent yield, excellent quality. So give us some confidence that we could be good farmers. So encouraging experience. And now what we have in the field at the moment, it's winter wheat. So we had now rye. We had rye enough for 3 years. So we had a good harvest. So we had that. And then now we're making a stock of wheat. So we had a winter wheat that is looking really good. So we're really excited about that. I think we're gonna have our best harvest so far. And then next year we will go back to the
try it again.
Infamous barley and because that's the barley is the cereal we use the most. So
it's the main cereal in most of the beers. So.
We need to succeed at barley.
Are you guys malting your own barley, or do you outsource that?
No, we outsource that. So like our rye, it's Inomalt in Sherbrooke that did the malting process. They're excellent at what they do. So and malting operation is as complex as a brewery. So
I would imagine.
Yeah, we have the highest admiration for any farm brewery that malts its own grains. I mean, there's no way we're ever, I think, to do that.
I don't say never, but not tomorrow.
But it's good to understand, like, staying within a certain wheelhouse, right? Like, because if you, like, I get the temptation to want to do everything, right? Because then that's the truest farm to table, whatever. But at the same time, I imagine the challenges involved in doing that correctly or well enough that it would even be very good, it would take years and years and years. So it only makes sense that you kind of have to pick and choose, what you're going to do. Ultimately, is your end goal that you want to use all your grains only, or do you think you'll always be bringing in specialty malts and different things and hops from like New Zealand and shit? Obviously, I don't know. Or is it like 10 years down the line you want your beers to be 100% grown on your site?
The 100% target is it's not impossible, but the last % are really difficult to reach because like the specialty malts, there's some micro malteries in Quebec that does some, but we don't have access to anything, to everything. So like dark malts, stuff like this, we still buy from elsewhere. But all the base malt, most of the hops, so we strive for majority of the ingredient, and some beers will be. We already have some beers that we made. No, not true, but almost 100%. But we'll have some 100% beer from our land, but it will be very difficult to do that across the board.
Yeah, very difficult also because, right now, as I said earlier, we only have 1 acre of hops, of the hop yard. We do want to expand that, and not only to have more quantity, but also have different varieties. So none of our beers are made with New Zealand hops or West Coast hops. We only use hops that we grow on our own farm, varieties that we grow here, or varieties that we could grow. And so when we expand the hop yard, we want to add 2 or 3 more acres, in the hop yard. And so when we decide which hops, which varieties to plant. We've worked already with a few in our beers, and so we already have a good idea of what grows here and what we have access to, because I mean, yes, West Coast hops, they smell amazing, they taste unbelievable, but one, they don't grow well here, and two, if not one, we just don't have access to that because they're patented hops, so it's not for sale, and so no, we don't work with that. We don't purchase any of that because the idea at the very base is to have some sort of a terroir beer, so beer that is made with ingredients that either come from our farm or are sourced locally, or at the very least in Quebec, if not Eastern Ontario. Some hops come from Eastern Ontario, but I don't know. But it's close enough to me. But yeah, that's the idea. It's to have wild beers that taste, whatever the land in the Eastern Townships, tastes basically.
Yeah. When we started, the goal was to have local Quebec ingredients and everything organic. So that we didn't realize it was impossible when we started, because there's some organic product, but not that much, or not in sufficient quantities. So now we have some beer that are 100% organic. In that case, we have some Canadian malt, because we don't have everything here in Quebec. Or we have 100% local beer, but not always organic. So we had to make some trade-off to start with, but it's developing. I'm confident that someday we can achieve that. But we need to be part of it and
local and
push
organic.
on it and encourage that.
No, let's do it.
Should we open the next beer?
Yeah, let's do it. My guess was the IPA, I imagine.
Yeah, IPA Rustique. Okay.
Look at that. Tell us about this one. I'm going to go grab it. Keep talking. Yeah, go for it.
So IPA Rustique, it's we do 2 IPAs. One is only seasonal, but this is our flagship IPA, I would say. So it's not a New England, but you get some haze, you get some fruity flavor, a bit more resin that we would normally get in a New England style. It's we call it the name IPA Rustique. So
it's a rustic IPA.
Rustic, but we made a mistake with that name at the beginning. Because being a farmhouse and the term rustic is
kind of redundant.
Bread, right?
No, redundant, but more associated with funk and bread and so on. So people, without having tasted the product, imagine that it would be a funky IPA. But that was not the intent. It's rustic because the hops are rustic. It's from our hop farm. It's a variety that grows here. So that was the intent behind.
So, initially, the first, I don't know how many batches, all hops that we use for the IPA Rustique were all hops from our hop farm, the hop yard. So now a little less because we've literally used all of the hops that we harvested from the years back. So there's still some from the farm, but we also have to purchase some of the varieties.
Yeah. We do the same variety from other farm, but we have to blend. And in this in the Rustique, the hops are you have Cascade, Chinook, and Rakau.
Okay.
Which is something New Zealand, but it's growing. We can grow it here.
And it grows very well, actually.
Yeah.
Is this so the beer? Before we did this, I checked if I'd had them before because I do my little selfie reviews. Is this version that we're about to drink, is this the same as the one I would have had? Noah and I probably would have had the same batch from a couple of years back. Thank you. Or is it kind of like
the recipe evolved a bit? And
okay.
That's something. Our beers are always moving because
it's true for all beers, really.
Yeah. We're always in the search of what can we do to just improve a bit, and so we it's micro adjustment. But if there's a few batch since you tasted it last time, and we brew it often, so you might find a shift
in the beer,
especially with the first batch.
Totally. Yeah, this looks completely different to what I recall. It looks amazing. This head, whatever you're doing with these heads, they're just insane. I love it when they're like this, like little meringue pillow things. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember the first batch I had of this, which I enjoyed. Wow. But it's taking on another level, I think. Like,
yeah.
It's a fun, like, it's really earthy, like
super.
The hops have this grassiness. You can definitely get that, like, I don't know if it's the Racao that gives it the juicier components or whatever, but it also has this like earthy, grassy, almost like rustic feel. Not in the wild yeast funk, but rustic in I don't know, a more like grassy kind of earthy tone.
Yeah.
A bit citrusy, I find.
Yeah, definitely.
Great body. Mouthfeel is exceptional.
Yeah, well, that has definitely improved, I think. I think we can say. Yeah. Again, the micro adjustments from batch to batch. We and it's very difficult to. Well, it's not difficult. It's literally impossible to have the exact same batch, brew after brew, simply because obviously you're not going to use the exact same hops. You will change from year to year, and it's with the dry hop that you do and the amount of hops that that we put. Some like to call it double dry hop, triple, EDH, TDH. We don't call it anything, but the reality is that there's a shitload of hops in this beer.
Yeah.
And the dry hop is something that we understand better, but by no means do we claim to master the process. There's so many things that interact on a molecular.
What we do different is that all of our hop that we grow ourselves, we don't do pellets. We work with the whole flower.
Okay.
Which is not really often nowadays. So you don't get that
the hop burn,
bite or burn.
Or the grassiness, the green.
The green.
That exactly. You normally find in IPA.
So there's some pellets from the hop we buy, but everything we grow here, it's whole cones. And the contact surface is not the same. Extraction is not the same. So it gives a beer that is different as well. So we learn how to work with this with our equipment as well, because there's all kind of complications in the brewing when you work with this kind of product, and it doesn't go through valve, pumps, and everything. So we we have to scratch our head sometimes.
That's awesome. I imagine that's probably, like, I guess if that's what's giving it that earthiness that Noah was talking about, because it's like got the body of a typical New England IPA with a touch of the juiciness, like also you were saying, Noah, from the Racao most likely, but then there's that sort of super unique, that earthiness that without the greenness as well, Mara, that you mentioned, that probably is all coming from that whole cone hop. This is giving it a whole other super unique profile it's got that super dustiness about it, which I quite like. I really like that drying, because I don't know, overly sweet IPAs, it's a little much. So this makes you want to come back and have another sip.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, that's like a certain. Go ahead, Mara.
It's one of those times. So that's that's the intent with this beer for sure. But in general, with all our beers, we want to make them balanced. We want to be able to taste, all the different components that you would normally find in a beer, and not have one ingredient supersede everything else, and just have this, one aspect type of beer. We don't want sweet beer, like heavy beers. We want to be able to open a bottle and finish it, and not feel after a few sips that, okay, I'm saturated. It's good the first sip, it's good the second sip, third sip still not so bad, but then you're saturated with some IPAs. That's not what we want to do at all. We want them to be what's the word, crushable,
Dry.
drinkable.
Drinkable.
No, just something that you drink very easily and enjoy until the very end of the bottle.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you kind of described what you're doing perfectly, because that's what I've noticed when trying your beers, especially the beers that you've released that usually are often on the far richer side. I found those impressively drinkable, like you were saying, even though traditionally they might not be, or at least the profile that you get off of it is often associated to something richer and sweeter. So you guys did a barrel aged, was it an old ale? It wasn't a barley wine, it was an old ale, right?
An English ale, yeah. English old ale, yeah.
English old ale, yeah. And so that beer was, it had the nose and the flavor profile of a lot of bourbon barrel aged barley wines that I love and adore, but without the extreme richness and like the 12% and the residual sugars, which I do love, but like you said, your palate gets kind of destroyed pretty quickly. And it's a slow sipper or whatever. But when I had yours, the bourbon presence was really impressive, and the rich caramel was there, but it was a far more drinkable beer. Yeah, it was just a far more drinkable beer in a way that was good, because sometimes I feel like you're like, oh, I wish this is nice, but I wish it was heavier, because it's like lacking that thing. But that beer wasn't, and the porter, which was
Porteuse. Yeah,
that was a really interesting beer. That beer was one of the more unique things I've had in a while, because it was almost like a red wine. It was so tannic and dry, and oaky, but without any sugar. I sat with that beer for longer than usual. I don't know why, because at first I was like, I don't know if I couldn't decide at the beginning, and then halfway through I was like, this might just be brilliant. Like I think I just kind of fell for it. And at the beginning I was like, this is good, but it's almost too tannic, too dry. It's kind of, but then it just worked. It was like once I was able to like shift my mindset that it would like treat this like a red wine and not a rich porter, it kind of just made sense. Worked for me. So good job with that.
Perfectly I'm with you, because I had the same reaction when I tasted it the first time, and I was like, okay, it's interesting, it's a bit acidic, it's quite dry for that style, and the first time we tasted it was before we had the blackcurrant. So and there was lacking something. So let's go with the blackcurrant, and it really improved that beer. But it's the kind of beer that grows on you, because you don't know exactly what to expect. And if you expect like
no pastry style, that's for sure.
No,
not quite.
Not at all.
Opposite, yeah. But yeah, quite interesting. But yeah, I wasn't sure at the first glass, but now that I have at my stash, and sometimes I crack one open, and it grows on you really. It's
it's
acquired.
Really something, that one. And I'm in the current component, I found really an interesting choice too, because I wouldn't have thought like fruits and stouts work. It depends on what, but there was something like you couldn't have put that much, I assume, right? Like you didn't blast that with currants. Like it must have it's just been like it just has like a hint, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not too acidic either. It was just another level of dryness. I'll stop ranting.
Yeah, it was really to balance out the beer because as Jonathan said, before putting the fruit, it was just so dry and so like ashy type of taste. I was like, hey, no, this isn't working. But do we drain it or do we think that we can actually do something good, by adding something else? And that's how you came up with the idea of the fruit. So we tried it, and it was just surprising afterwards. And again, at first I was like, still something difficult to drink and appreciate easily. But yeah, after 2 sips, 3 sips, like, it grows on you. I was like, this is obviously very different, but good, like a good difference. Like, okay. We always have that battle, like, do we put it on the market or not? I'm the tougher one. But,
that's good though.
Yeah, you need the balance.
If I says yes, then it's okay.
I respect that. You need someone in the, you got to have 2 people and someone has to be the tough one. That's my girlfriend too. So
well, actually, we have a whole team, and we're lucky to have like a fantastic team of colleagues that are all like super well versed in beer tasting and then obviously brewing. So yeah, it's always a team decision.
Okay, good.
It's part of the fun. More and more involved in new recipes, and we do the test together. So we have good people around us, and that's part of it.
Good people that like farming. May I add?
Very
sometimes,
important.
sometimes they do need to go out in the field as well with us.
You got to get your hands dirty, right? Beer is not a clean business. I was going to ask them, because you made a point, you guys were just talking about how, the beers are not, is it too different or, and it seems like that might come up a lot. And in the beers that I've had from you guys, I have found that different is a great word to describe it, but different in the most positive way. Like the Porter Melilo, which was, I think, is like a flower, I believe, that you added to that. That was one of my favorite ones, I think, from the first batch of stuff. It was exceptional. I love porters, but that just gave it this whole other vibe. And I feel like even in this 53 minutes we've been talking, I'm starting to even see a bit more of a theme here, that there's this element of difference that you're bringing to all of your products. But I feel like that was the intention from the beginning, was to be like, hey, let's just like put a little twist on everything. I mean, I'm sure like there's a straight up Bière de Table. That was, classic, your own yeast. So it's still really kind of got the twist on it. The IPA as well is a twist. I'm trying to think of something that's not a twist, but I think most of there was a straight up porter too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, do you want to maybe speak a bit to that? Like, that approach to wanting to do something a little bit just, on the other side that, might surprise people.
Yeah, we work a bit more like a chef. So we, instead of saying, okay, let's do a German beer, Belgian beer, or whatever, we start from the ingredients, either what we grow, or if there's a cool farm neighbor which has some ingredient we can pick, then we start from the ingredient, and then we draft the recipe around it. So doing so, we can be inspired with a style like the Melilo. We start with this flower. It's okay. So it's used in pastry. It's like vanilla. Okay, vanilla and chocolate. Oh, why not do a porter? And then then we can think of an English porter and associate that with the Milo, but it starts with the ingredient, and then we pick the style of beer rather than deciding on the style of beer we will do and then adding the twist. So that's the approach, maybe, which is with a different approach we can hit different results. So it's fun also because it's always challenging. So we pick some like we did collab lately with Canton Brasse in Norfolk, and we had the meeting to think about the beer, and they do a lot of sours and stuff like that. So okay, let's do a sour, and we're a farm, so saison sour, and then we had some things. GS, our brewer, last summer picked some Mélèze and Armoise. I didn't look. I didn't look up those words in English, but so Mélèze is a pine tree. Well, it's not a pine tree, but so similar
it's to.
So you
like
need the
spruce kind of flavor or something like that.
Yeah, with the needles and everything. So we harvested that. And then we had these ingredients. Said, okay, can we incorporate that in the beer? Oh, cool. Let's put some Chinook with that because both are piney, citrusy, so it should match together. So we build a recipe around these special ingredients. So that's an example of how we work out the recipe.
Yeah, and we're always on the lookout for new ingredients, obviously from Quebec, obviously as local as possible, but we were looking at Labrador Tea. That has a super interesting taste. It's from Quebec, and so haven't done anything with that yet, but it's one of those ingredients that are out there that are not very common in general, and certainly not in beer. And so yes, we're always trying to find something that is different, new, perhaps something that is not used so much either in beer or just in general. And yeah, as Jonathan said, we obviously don't follow recipes. We have those ingredients, whatever is available at that particular time, that particular year, and and we make the recipe around it, and that's how we create the beers. And again, using all the ideas from all the team members. They're all brewers at home, so they all have ideas. They all have their preferences as well. So we can always come up with something creative, something different. We like to think, for sure.
That's great. Do you grow a lot of the did the Melilo, for example? Was that from the farm? Like, do you start with a whole bunch of just cool stuff that you have on the farm? Then you're like, all right, let's pick that. Let's run with that. Or how do you, or is it all just sort of you just buy it from elsewhere? No,
we don't grow them yet. But there's a lot of ideas to have also fruits and these kind of plants. But either we harvest, like we go and we did that with Christmas tree, the sapin baumier. So we go at a place and either we harvest it or we work with people that harvest on various land.
Like forages?
And we purchase from them. Foragers, exactly. So we work with foragers that can do that for us.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's how we pick it. But yeah, on the farm right now, it's mostly hops and cereals. But we have planned for.
But the reality also is, just like malting, we cannot do everything. We wouldn't necessarily be good or we wouldn't excel at everything. And there's only 24 hours in a day and only 365 days in a year. And so yes, at one point we have to pick our battles and choose, what it is that, we want to invest our time and our energy in, and then work with, neighbors, like down our street. There's this girl that has, all kinds of raspberries, organic raspberries. So, every year we, whatever she doesn't sell on her own, we just buy everything else. And, it goes into the porter that we will taste later, or it goes into another beer. The Haskap berries that we use in our Sur Cameries, they are from Sainte-Cécile de Milton. So again, like 15 minutes drive from here. And that Manuel, the farmer, he has like a whole farm of Haskap berries, all kinds of varieties as well. So we go, we talk with the farmer. We want to understand how he works. Obviously, if they're not organic, at least they don't use any chemicals or any, pesticides or anything like that. And we like to play with the varieties as well of, the different fruits. There's like a gazillion Haskap berry varieties. We like to play with that. And so again, you might not necessarily remember the taste from the previous bottle you had, a few weeks back, but there's always like a little subtle change in it. And so he does that wonderfully. There's no way that we would have the time and or the ability necessarily to cultivate, to grow the fruit. So yeah, that's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Grains and hops is already a lot. We do want to have a bit more ingredients, but there's just so much we can do.
Perhaps with some partner, we have a big land, we have a lot of space, so but maybe some different way of thinking that we can put forward and.
Maybe like renting out or lending, like a piece of land for someone that wants to, to grow and, different fruits, and we buy everything, in advance, so there's no risk for the guy, the girl, that wants to come and work here, and it's great for us because it comes from our land, but we're not the ones putting in the hours we don't have. So.
I didn't really think about that.
We already do something like that. We have bees on the land. So and that's a friend of mine.
Yeah, we have beehives.
It's true. We have like 24 beehives, and it's a friend of mine. It's his hives, and the deal is you put as much as you want, and we buy the honey at the end. So he does the extraction and everything, keeps care of the bees. So we don't have to.
He does all the work, really.
Yeah, exactly. But and we buy everything, and we put that in our beers. So and that's the kind of model we can think of in the future with other people that could get involved.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Have you used any of the honey in any beers that you've made yet, or is it still a work in progress?
Both. We have we used it in our Super Saison Cameries. So which is so Super Saison, that's a 9.5% alcohol saison. So and it's boosted obviously with some of the honey to give this high alcohol. And in this one we used the same Haskap that we put in the Sur Cameries, and we do a second pass on the Super Saison. So you get some of the Haskap flavors, but it's more in the tannins. It's different.
It's more subtle as opposed to the sour, the sour Cameries. But it's still there. There's after you do a first pass on fruits, there's still flavor, there's still stuff to go get from the fruit. So we try to waste as little as possible, and so that's that's one way for us to.
But that's a pretty strong beer with a lot of flavor. So the honey is a bit hidden in that beer. So we have other recipe in mind that we want to try to put the spotlight on the honey, really. So we have something probably coming toward the end of the summer, autumn, something like that.
Oh,
cool!
That's a scoop.
That's a scoop.
I had the pleasure of trying your collaboration with a local restaurant called Restaurant Au Blanc. I think it is, right?
Yeah.
So he was kind enough to send me a bottle to try and the glass that he had made for it. And for the first time ever, I completely lost the photo that I took. So I couldn't post about it. And I felt so bad because it's not like, sometimes I'll get like a box of like 6 beers. And if I lost one of those photos, well, there's 5 other. But like he literally sent me one bottle and one glass and I lost the freaking bottle. I lost the photo. It was gone. And like, I'm very particular about what I like. I'm not going to take someone else's photo. Anyway, so I had to just apologize to him. But anyway, all this to say, I really enjoyed that beer. It had it reminded me of what Dunham kind of spearheaded 6 years ago, which I don't see enough of anymore. It was wild, barrel aged, and if I'm not mistaken, pretty heavy dry hop on that. Was it a hoppy beer?
Hoppy, there was definitely a dry up. Maybe not so heavy, but dry up. We added some Rosier.
Sea buckler.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was really
just a little bit, something. So that was quite light.
Everything was in subtlety in that beer, because the hops were not like super shiny. That was not the main aspect of the beer. The fruits were not either. It was just
balance of many things. Yeah, and this beer was made in cider barrels.
Cool.
Right.
So that was also the cider side, which was quite interesting. But that was. This is definitely something that we want to do a bit more. Our barrel fleet is going up. We definitely lack some space over here already, so because we always want more. But this is that was a very interesting beer, which we were really proud of.
Yeah, that was kind of going to lead into another question that I had, which is, you obviously have, I feel like you have a good direction in terms of like what you're trying to be. It doesn't feel like you're like, I don't know what direction we want to go or whatever. Like, it seems like you have a pretty good rounded view of where you want to go and where you don't want to go. But I was curious if you have plans to do more wild stuff, and whether if so, would that wild stuff involve something like spontaneous fermentation, or would you invest in more barrels? Again, obviously you have space issues, but like to do, playing with Brett and bacteria and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This is something that will grow more and more. We're still young, so we will have our second anniversary in September of making actual beer. So we started farming before, but it's not even 2 years that we brew. So we have a lot of barrels that haven't had a full cycle yet. So
right,
we have so we have beer in the making. And this is something we like to drink, we like to brew. So And even if we lack space, we just have to find a solution to make more of this, because this is definitely where we want to go. And also we like when we started this, the idea was it's a family farm. It's we don't want to own the world and grow and get bigger. So we just want our small operation, make good beer, and take time to do whatever we need to do to make good beer. So the barrel aged beer and this kind of process really matches our mind, or
it matches our philosophy, and it definitely matches the styles of beer that we personally enjoy. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We make beer that we enjoy, that we want to drink. So to go back to what you were saying, Noah, so yes, we have a clear idea of who we are, what we want to do, and what we don't want to do. And I guess the main the main line of direction, if I can say, is we do what we enjoy, what we like. Again, being local, being organic as much as possible, just enjoying, what we do. And so barrel age is definitely up there, and spontaneous, absolutely. One of our colleagues is actually doing not a master's, a bachelor's in what is it? Chemistry? Biochemistry. So great. We want to eventually, start harvesting yeast. From around the farm. We have all kinds of apple tree. We have all kinds of stuff growing on our farm. Whether apple trees, whether raspberries, whether black currants. Naturally, of course, nothing that we planted ourselves. That we're just there. So we think that there's like a gazillion possibilities harvesting yeast. And just doing spontaneous beer around here. It's all natural. I mean, we're organic, so we think that it could lead to an interesting result. So we're definitely heading there. When? We don't know. Maybe not this summer yet, but for sure.
But one day.
So sure. I love that. I didn't even think about that, because that's one of the beauties of having that sort of land, and I didn't realize that you guys had some fruit on there as well. Like that's like some really fun, exciting possibilities that seem like a bit of a light lift. Like it's not like a huge undertaking, particularly if you have a member of staff who's becoming a biochemist. As such, you can sort of make it happen and allow you to sort of capture all of those, and to continue that unique differentiation that you have already. And it's just stuff from your own land. Like I don't know, I kind of feel like what you're doing is almost like what every brewer kind of wishes they could do, really, like to control every element of the production, because isn't that the ultimate thing? Like you're trying to make this product, but you've got to ask these people for this part of it and these people for that part of it. But if you could just do it all, I don't know, I kind of feel like everyone would want that in the end, even though, yeah, like you were saying, Mara, it's a ton of work and it's insane and it's more than you ever thought it was, but I don't know, it's like extraordinarily unique. And it's like, I don't know, when the apocalypse happens, you can still make beer because you've got everything there. I feel like that's a pretty good bonus right there.
It's definitely fun. We if we didn't have fun doing what we do, and I don't say that we have fun every single day of our lives, that would be the biggest lie ever. But if in general we would not enjoy that.
The manure day is not the funniest.
No, I bet.
There's one day a year I need to spread manure, and that's it. We're a farmer.
Well, actually, it's fun for me watching, but
you don't participate? Mara doesn't participate in the manure day?
No. Well, no. I participate just by watching from afar.
That's as close as you get.
Binoculars.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you're thirsty. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
That's great.
But yeah, I mean, so it's, I mean, of course, I'm a bit of a control freak, but so is Jonathan. So, we like to, yes, we would like to control everything as much as possible. But at the end of the day, I think it's just, normally you say the sky's the limit. So in our case, it's not so much the sky as the land is the limit. And we, there's a lot of possibility on our land. And we've just begun to, to exploit it, to work with it and really have fun doing so. I mean, it doesn't always work out as we thought it might, but
at the end of the day, even if we would like to control everything from the beginning to the end, we don't and won't have control because it's farming.
Yeah.
You're dependent on weather, you're dependent on many things that you don't control. So it's also part of it, and you need to compose with that.
That's a good point. I wanted to. I don't
Should
think
we try the
we should
Rousse?
do. Yeah, maybe we should do that. You want to do the next one?
oh yes.
Yes.
Craig is very team Rousse.
Team Rousse all day. Just the next one.
So let me tell you a bit about this. So when we started, I mean, you can see from the different beers that we make that we don't do a blanche, we don't do a Rousse. That's not really what we're about really. But so we had really no intention at all of brewing a Rousse. I don't think there's an English word for that. I mean, other than red ale, maybe, but
it doesn't really exist. It's kind of a made-up style, I think. But yeah, an Irish red ale, I guess.
Yeah. So yes, we really did not have any intention of brewing that this style of beer. But then last year, when we opened the beer garden here, which we opened because of the whole. I mean, we had the intention of opening it, but not as fast as we did. We opened it. I mean, we accelerated the process because of the whole COVID situation. When COVID started last year, we were still such a young brewery and not super known. And so when COVID started, I had planned like a whole bunch of tastings like here and there, for people to taste our beers and get to know us. And obviously that was all canceled. So we're like, okay, well, if we cannot go to, and meet people, well, we need to have a space where people can come and meet us and get to know us. And so that's when we figured that, well, we needed to have some sort of a beer garden since we don't have a space for, like a tasting room. Mm-hmm. So we opened the beer garden and like from day one, I kid you not, there's not one day that passed that we were open that I was not asked whether I had like a white beer or a Rousse.
Really?
Do you have a white beer? Do you have a Rousse? I'm like, no, I don't have those colors. I have like a whole bunch of other beers, but I don't have a friggin' Rousse. So obviously, it gave us food for thought. I was like, okay, well, clearly people like their Rousse, and clearly, they they'd like to see that here. So like, okay, how can we make that style, but again, make it our own, not just any regular Rousse that you'll find on the market. Also, given the fact that it's not, I mean, this is far from being something new. This is an old style that was sort of invented by Boreal back in the 80s, I think.
It's really Quebec style,
super
Quebec driven.
Yeah, but from back in the 80s.
I think you're right.
Be.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So like, how can we update the style or at least make it our own? And that's how we. So as Jonathan said, we harvested rye last year. like super high quality rye. Like, okay, well, let's use that in our Rousse, and that's how we get what 1/3 I think of the grain bill is rye.
1/3 is rye.
And so, like, okay, well, let's do a Rousse, mais a Rousse de Seigle, so rye.
That's a
rye
bitch to
Rousse.
brew.
I bet. Yeah.
It's too much
Well,
rye.
That's a whole different story. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear
So
rye
you
is
have
a
it
nut.
stuck mashed every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we learned to work with it, but rye in general is not an easy malt to use in the brewery. And our malt is really good in extract, but also really good in beta glucans, which is so viscous about the malt. So, but it's hard in the brewery, but in the end product, it gives texture, mouthfeel, which is quite interesting. So for that reason, we like the rye, and we do the extra hours to to bring the beer on the table.
How did
And
you
so, the version.
go on? Sorry.
Yeah, so the version you have, so we have the regular Rousse de Seigle, which is just Rousse de Seigle, and the version you have is the Bourbon Edition.
Yeah.
So those bourbon barrels that we use for the Bourbon, which you were mentioning before, Noah, we used some of those barrels and new ones as well.
And new ones as well. Yeah.
So, a mix of second pass bourbon barrels and first pass bourbon barrels for the Rousse de Seigle, which was aged only 2 months, really just to give it a hint of bourbon, a hint of like vanilla / oaky taste. It just gives it like a little bit more mouthfeel, but still super light. It's only 5%. But it tastes, well, to us, obviously, amazing in the sense that it's, you have, the complex taste, but without the heaviness that you might otherwise get in the style of this kind of beer.
Yeah. I was going to
Well,
ask.
again, sorry, go on, Craig.
All I wanted to really say, was just how did you get a 5% beer that was aged in a bourbon barrel? Because that seems magic right there. From my understanding, I know you said second pass bourbon barrel, but still, to get it
Half.
half. Okay, had to blend. Cool, that makes sense. This is great.
I was just going to say that it speaks. Sorry.
No problem. So to answer Craig, the idea of to have a 5% beer, barrel age, and so on. From the beginning, the idea was not to put it in barrels.
Right.
So
Let's disclose
the
truth.
full history. We messed up around with this batch, and there was a bit more bitterness than we have normally, and there was said, okay, what we do with that? Do we release it like this, or we were afraid that it was too far from the.
It was too
the
bitter.
beer.
It was too bitter.
So it's okay, it's not the same beer, so let's not sell that as the same beer. And then we had these barrels sitting around. So
Chuck it in
let's
there.
be
put it in a
opportunistic,
barrel.
and it's sure that it will fit the flavor, and that will work. So sometimes you do beers that not everything is intended, and you don't control everything. But
you start from a mistake and you work on that.
So this one was a good save.
I agree. I think it's pretty awesome, to be honest.
It's going to be the best Rousse I've
think-
ever had. Has to be.
Yeah, what you managed to do is save the beer, obviously, but just the fact that a beer like this you don't want to age for a year in a bourbon barrel, right? It's just gonna get too thin, and it's gonna lose its what it was. But you're just pulling in hints of the vanilla and that oak, and it's not particularly tannic either. And the bitterness, I don't know. I don't think I've had the original, but it's not. So I guess the time in the barrel helped reduce that hop bitterness and just kind of round things out. But yeah, no, this is great, and it's not overtly peppery either from the rye, and but that's still there too a little bit. But the like you said about the mouthfeel, that rye slick kind of mouthfeel is really present. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
easy to drink too. Like
I never would have thought I'd hear Roos and fun in the same sentence, but here we are.
It's innovative, Craig.
It's
innovative.
But I'm dead ass. I'm here for it. I also wanted to show some love to this glass. This is probably my top 3 favorite glass I own.
Yeah, I love that glass.
Love this glass. This is so gorgeous. This was with the Bourbon and the other barrel aged series you guys did in February. It's such a gorgeous glass with the way that it looks like it's kind of a sharp edge here, and it's perfect for a bourbon barrel aged Roos. You know? I never thought that's what would happen. Now I'm officially Team Roos.
Thank you. I take all the credit for that.
Yes, own it. Own the credit.
Yeah, so I do, all the merch, which includes the glasses, and so while Jonathan and the team brews, I shop around for the perfect glass or the perfect hoodie, the perfect cap and everything. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
your branding is really great. You want to talk about that for a moment?
I'd love to hear about that.
Did you design the branding, or do you?
No. We work with a firm which is called Polygraph. They're based in Montreal, and they did the logo and all the basics of our branding, the labels, like the white. White labels, really simple, modern, sleek design. So it's their work, and I mean it's perfect. The logo means many things. Well, we can speak about that.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah. So you have
funny story, or not so funny
logo, and well the color
yeah, that's
itself.
Upside down though.
It goes this way
itself.
Yeah, it's like a little farm.
Yeah, because there's
I thought it was a hop.
The logo. So
that was a what?
I thought it was a hop.
That's the
hop
can be hop. Can be the head of the cereal. Also the grange, the barn.
The barn. The
barn itself, the shape of the barn,
building.
because our brewery is basically this shape, barn shaped, and you have the tread of a tractor tire, wheel. Yeah.
Ooh,
it's all this at the same time.
That's like a triple entendre right there. Oof, I love that.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the eastern townships from above, you see all those lots, and so that's also something that you can see on with the logo, like different lots next to one another.
I love that. That's so dope. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really sharp, even just seeing it on the hoodie there. Like it just like pops on there. And these labels, these stand out over everything. I feel like if I'm looking in a box full of beers, like this bright orange thing, I'm like, boom, well there it is. Like it's awesome. It's such a smart way to do it. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Well, I was about to
talk
tell
about
you
the orange.
where the orange is coming from.
Please, yeah.
And basically, it's this orange is the same orange in the Kubota tractor color. Because we used to have a John Deere, a nice green John Deere tractor,
like old school, but mint condition. That was perfect.
Perfect, so perfect. It was stolen. One morning, I'm looking for the tractor. Is it there? No. Maybe in the back? No. Did I left it at the house? No. After 5 minutes, I figured out that it was stolen. So we had to shop another one, and we need a very narrow tractor to go through the hop yard, and it's not every tractor that makes the job. So we were not able to find a John Deere like we had, and we bought a Kubota. And I have a lot of friends, engineer, and they like John Deere is the man tractor, and you need a John Deere and everything, So they bought me gray paint,
like a spray can?
spray cans to to paint it back to
the green.
green on their cap and everything. So when I told that to Sébastien at Polygraph when he was working on the logo, he came back with this branding idea, and he didn't told us at the beginning, but that's the color code, exact color code of Kubota. And then he afterward, yeah, he was knowing about the story and was making fun of us basically with this color, and it was so funny that we said, okay, that's a nice color, let's go with that.
But also we like it, of course.
Let's assume our new tractor and let's go with the old.
I like that a lot, and it stands out. Is your the hoodie you got there, Mara? Is that I can't tell. Is it like blue or gray, like a gray blue type of?
No, it's charcoal.
Charcoal. Okay,
yeah, you
so
can't really.
Yes, there's like a little bit of like shadow on it, so I can't tell. But what I can tell is the orange logo is just popping like that, which is smart. I feel like I've seen a couple brands over the year, really not many. Because it's a bold color choice to go for like a bright orange as your key color component for a brand, but you guys use it in such a subtle way, like you were showing the label before, Jonathan, that's like, all white for the most part with a few little orange highlights, and you get to the back and you got the where is it? Yeah, the little logo here on the back in orange and just a few little highlights, and it's like a classy, subtle, like you said, modern way to utilize a very contrasting color that reminds you of construction workers, but you've been able to use it in a really subtle way to sort of double down on the branding, which is dope. So I love it. That's really cool. There was a quick question here we had for you guys, which just to reiterate, Beer and Abosa said, didn't catch how they got 5% out of a bourbon barrel aging. Did you say that you blended it down to that ABV? And that was correct, right? So it was a bourbon barrel part, then you made a fresh batch, and then blended that 50-50 with the bourbon barrel, which would have been ramped up to a pretty high ABV, I guess.
No, that's not the case. What Mara meant by 50-50 is 50% of the barrel was first pass, and the other 50% second pass. So that's about the barrel. But the beer itself was already at 5%, already finished. You just stayed in the barrel for some maturing, but there were clean barrel. So no further fermentation in the barrel.
Gotcha. So there just wasn't like a ton of like booze to soak up really to ramp up their ABV. That makes sense.
No.
No, I love it. Who would have thought a Rousse would be this lit? Noah, now we
It is really, really good.
It's just weird.
Can't say that was our first intention, anyways.
Hey, you made it happen. And once again, though, I got to comment on the mouthfeel. Like, this is 3 beers in a row that have very similar. I don't know. I feel like mouthfeel is one of the most important aspects of a beer that I personally remember, because I feel like if you can nail a certain mouthfeel, it's like it's a hallmark of a well-made beer. And all 3 of these beers that are very markedly different styles have this signature smoothness that is just fucking glorious. With no other way to describe it. It's really beautiful. And I'm appreciating what you do. And I don't recall it being like this in the first batch. Once again, 2.5 years ago, whatever it was. Did that happen slowly over time to get to this point?
I think so. We get used to our equipment. We get used to our ingredient as well, which always changes, by the way. So each year we need to make some adjustment. We're also gaining some maturity. I was not coming from another brewery before, so my previous was my garage. So and then whichever way you start, you always learn in life. So and strive to always improve as well. So I expect that this will go on and will never stop. So that's the philosophy here. There's always something to do to get a better product out, and we're not ashamed of trying new things and change the recipes a little bit. So that's
So hopefully, if we talk again in 2 years, you'll say, "Yeah, you guys really grew."
Hey, I'm here for that. I feel like we shouldn't let it wait 2 years though. I think we should do this not that long after. So I was just maybe to give people a bit more of an overall picture of what you guys do. I feel like between Noah and I, at least from sort of the outside looking in, we've tried a lot of the different stuff you guys have been doing. As far as I'm sort of assuming, I guess, as far as the sort of spectrum of stuff, like, did you come into this with like, all right, we're going to do this style, and this style, and that's kind of it? Or did, like, what if people were just learning about La Ferme, what would you want them to know about what you guys are doing? And sort of, obviously we know about the approach, the organic, the grain to glass for the most part, as much as possible, keeping it local, love it, here for it. But, as far as what people can expect style-wise, like you're saying, they come in asking for a Rousse or a white, Blanche or whatever, there's your damn Rousse. But, the other stuff you're doing, like, how would you sort of describe the types of different stuff and your approach to beer for people curious?
Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to drinkability, because we don't have a specific style which we go for.
Okay.
And it's we like to taste a lot of beers, diversity of beers. So this is obviously what we want to do. We like to try new things. So the commonality you will find in the beers is drinkability, balance, subtleness. So this is what you would find with our beers.
So we have some sour beers, sour fruit beers, if I can say. We have some, Belgian style beers. We have now the Rousse beer.
The most important.
And more and more you will see barrel aged beers because that's where we're heading. With all those barrels we have. We're now experimenting with Blanche as well. You may have seen or heard of the Blanche basilic, so Blanche with basil infusion or whatever, with basil.
Yeah.
So again, it's a Blanche, but not just your regular type of Blanche. We don't put any actual citrus because there's no orange or lemon that grow here in Quebec. So we find different ways, either with the hops or in that case with the yeast, to give it that hint of citrusy notes without actually using orange peels or whatnot. And the basil. So we just have this. More and more big variety of beers, and we just like to experiment, and we don't limit ourselves to this or that. We just go with whatever we like. Sometimes with what we're asked. So we had the Rousse because we were asked for it every single day. Same
and now you have this beautiful thing.
Well, exactly. That's going to be. That was a limited edition, of course, but we're thinking that maybe every now and then we can screw up the
barrels.
Yeah, we can screw up
on
brew
purpose.
and,
Chuck it in a barrel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
On that note, Beer and a Bozo also asked, he said, I see a Brut IPA on your website. There's not too many breweries still going about that. Are you still making that Brut IPA?
Yeah, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, we breaking news. We brewed this one this week, so in a few weeks it's gonna be available again. It's that was a style that was not so. There was a bit popular, small amount of time. But we have lot of demand on people that bought it in the time to make it again. And the reason why we do it only a few batch a year is because we do that with the cashmere hops, which we grow here. But it's a very difficult hop to grow in Quebec because of the weather, the moisture. So there's downy mildew, which is hard to control with this one. So we have limited harvest of this hop, and this is the key. That's what shines in the beer and make.
Yeah, because it's a single hop. It's a single hop beer, the IPA Brut that we make. It's only cashmere, and cashmere from here. Last year we did buy a bit of cashmere from Ontario, I think, but they were
no, that was Krakow. So yeah, cashmere.
We can't even find any cashmere like in Quebec or in Ontario anymore. I think we are the only ones left with some cashmere plants. Jonathan wanted to just scrap the whole thing because he's fed up with it. I fought a little bit, so I still have some cashmere plants, which I'm giving it as much love as I can to hopefully get a decent harvest, so that we can continue to brew the IPA Brut, which is it's in high demand by those who really want it. So every week I get, so when are you brewing it? When are we getting it? So yeah, we'll have 1 or 2 more batches this year, and we'll see what kind of harvest we have, and maybe that will be the end of that, and we'll have to come up with something different, or I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting. I feel like, go on, Joe.
Yeah, at the end, IPA Brut, it's not something that we'll sell. If you have this on the shelf, like the Brew style, there's not a big following for that, and that's the advantage of being a small brewery. We just do what we want to do, and if we follow the trend or not, it's not so important here. It's what the beer tastes. So if we feel it's good, then we do it, and we don't do things to fall within the trends. Like 100% of our beers are sold in bottles. It's definitely not a trend. We're not big on the New England IPAs, so we go a bit against the current sometimes, but we don't have the pressure to sell a given amount of beer. So that frees us a bit and allows us to do what we do. So if we want to do IPA Brut, we don't care if it's something trendy or not. We just do it if we think it's good.
That's funny, because that was literally going to be my next question. It was going to be a 2-parter, and the first part was going to be, you're one of the few people that are still doing solely bottles, and my second part of the question was going to be, do you feel like the beer landscape is kind of interesting right now, with trendy things being ultra trendy, and people, like, trends obviously bring in new clients, and then those new clients only know what's trendy almost as a result. So you end up with like, well, where's your 9 taps that are hazy IPAs, and where's the pastry stouts, and where are your smoothies, and where are your this or whatever. And I was just, and it's not to say that you have to do that to be successful, but I was just curious your thoughts on how you fit in with all of that. And do you feel like there's pressure to go in that direction, or, well, you just kind of mentioned because you don't feel that necessarily, because you're kind of, you have the farm, I guess, and you're doing your own thing, or I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit.
There's a bit of pressure, like some retailers will only buy cans, and as long as we're in bottles, they're not interested. And can is not the evil, so it's okay also to put beer in cans, but with the size that we are, we can still make our own decisions. So that's some kind of freedom we have, and there need to be diversity. So pastry stout, it's not wrong. New England, it's not wrong. It's I mean, it's different preference, and as you mentioned, these trends, there's a lot of new customers that discover craft beer with these, and that will eventually shift to other styles afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's just that now there's so many breweries that there's some niche or a specialization that is coming, and there's place for everybody. And we just felt that our place is drinkable beers, not too sweet, on the drier side of things, a bit more subtle, and it's clearly based on our personal preference. And so if we brew for ourselves, and we know that there would be people that also have the similar preference than we do. With the size we are, the market is large enough, so we don't bother too much with the trends.
And I mean, I don't know anything about running a business or running a brewery, but to me that makes sense in that I feel like the breweries that I find successful are the ones that brew to their passion, right? Like the breweries that feel the pressure and then start doing things that they don't actually like or aren't into. It's not even that, like you said, there's nothing wrong with pastries, there's nothing wrong with smoothies, and there's nothing wrong with haze. But it's just not your thing. And if you decide to try and make it your thing when it's not really something that you're interested in or passionate about or whatever, then I feel like it really shows in the product. And I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of breweries kind of, I guess, feeling like they have to go down that route, and then they do, and you try it, and you're like, you're not nailing it. Mm-hmm. You're just doing it to do it, and it's not really working that well. So anyway, all this to say, I think it's great that you're doing what you do, and it's not to say that there isn't people who want to do what you're doing, and I wasn't trying to insinuate that at all. I was just curious your thoughts on the trends in general.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we don't have those discussions either about considering cans or about considering those styles that are trendy, because at the end of the day we are a business, and at the end of the day we do have to make some sort of decent living from it. And the reality is that you have those trends that are super popular and that sell out super quickly. But also at the end of the day, I think our main priority is to make beers that we enjoy, that we would want to purchase, that we want to drink, and pastry stouts is not necessarily one of them. We're not big on Team Lactose. We're not big on.
Boo. That's okay. You never lose points with me with the Team Rousse, so you make up for it.
So we're I'm not big on hot burns, so I'm not gonna make a beer that gives me hot burns. I don't enjoy it, so we just want something that's balanced, something that is drinkable, and that you can finish the bottle and maybe have another one or not. Not that we need to have many bottles, but at least be able to finish yours and not feel saturated, not feel heavy in the mouth, heavy in your gut. That's what it comes down to. But I'm not saying that we're not ever going to use lactose, just small amount.
But maybe we use the whole milk to get the lactose from the farm.
See, switch it, just get it straight from the cow. Lactose was lactose was like 2019. We're a team cow. That's even better. We're like over lactose. We moved on from lactose. That was 2 years ago. Now it's about
Alex at Chanlibre did the
buttermilk
saison
because he was very aggressively anti lactose because I used to always give him shit.
Yes.
To always have like mini funny arguments and stuff. And then he used the buttermilk, and I was like, "Look at you, you're team lactose now." He was like, "No, it's not lactose. It's not the same." I'm like, "It's the same, bro. It's basically cheese." And he wasn't having it. But now people don't get mad about lactose. So now smoothie sours are what make people mad. So now we're team smoothie. But on the other side, we're also team Rousse. So we got it all covered now. It's amazing. There's a bunch of comments from Benoit here who are kind of commenting on what you guys are saying. He's like, that's the way to do it. Speaking on your trend, he goes, the trends are expensive. Customers, you have to impress, I guess, with the trends because the trends are, nothing that is trendy. Now think of it is cheap. Fruited sours, pastry stouts, the haze with quadruple dry hopped with crazy expensive hops and stuff.
And you do it so well to impress them too.
Yes, exactly right. And he's saying this, and this actually followed on what you were saying, Noah, and I couldn't agree more when you said that, like, he says, do what you love and the following will grow. And in my experience, this is like, we've done close to 250 podcasts, I think I checked recently, and from the people that we speak to, the ones that are the best are the ones who do exactly what they love. They do what they were passionate about. They're not really, like you exactly just said, Mara, we don't like pastry stouts, so we're not going to make them. I don't want hop burn, so I'm not going to use that type of stuff. And that's exactly what you should do. I couldn't agree with that more as a business decision because there's a million other people who do pastry stouts and hop burn beers. Cool, go to them. You guys do this way because that's what you love, and you will only do what you love. You'll do that the best because that's what you're passionate about. So I very much agree with that. He says Judy Ciel and the Castor are examples of this. Good point. And I guess touching on the cans, like where are all Val's cans? They're another brewery that are exclusively
it's true.
Exclusively bottled. I was like talking to Tiff. I had to put myself on mute. I live near, like, literally next to Montreal, like the mountain, and there is a police helicopter. There were people, fireworks, screaming the whole time. And Tiff was like, "Yo, they're wilding out there." No. And there was a police helicopter. I've never seen this outside of the States. Like, just hovering. It's still there now, but it's like hovering over the park. Like, people that just must be like doing some crazy shit. So
wow.
I may, which is pretty gangster. I definitely want to see what's going on. But did you guys discuss why? And I got pretty much everything. I think just for like 30 seconds there, I was a little like, because I couldn't really hear much because the helicopter was so loud. Did you say why you guys are only continuing to use bottles as opposed to moving to cans?
No.
Oh, you did. Okay, good.
The bottle choice is environmental choice.
Good job.
So many syllables.
Because this this format is multiple use, so it takes more energy to build than a can, but can be washed and reused 15 times on average. Up to 15 times. So that based on a study that was done specifically for Quebec. The can is not bad because aluminum is fully recyclable. So you can melt it again and do new cans, but takes more energy. And it's you need to import from the States. There's no local plant making the cans. And these bottles are made in Ontario. So if you look at the complete footprint and of the container, I should say. So we picked the bottle because we felt it was the best sustainable choice.
And also because we really like the shape of that bottle. We find it sexy. We find it, it looks really good on a table. Especially, if you are at a restaurant, for instance, having a can on table is absolutely not the same thing as having, a nice looking bottle. Also, it keeps your beer colder longer, as opposed to a can, which warms up more quickly. But I mean, those are much smaller details. But just in general, we really like the look of it, it's a bit of all that.
Yeah, and at the same time, we understand there's big drawbacks, like for the management of the consigne, the deposit.
The returns, yeah.
Yeah.
The returns, exactly, because the cans, it's a bit easier. You go to the grocery stores and you put that in the gubbers and it's done. Then the bottles, it's a bit more involving for the customer,
More
for the
demanding,
retailer,
yeah.
and also for us. But when we did the case, we said, okay, it's more job, but if we feel it's more sustainable, better for the environment, then let's go for it anyways. So
and at the end of the day, I mean, we as as a society, we have to shift towards finding more sustainable solutions, whether it's the bottle or the can. So yes, it's a bit more work in terms of having to return the bottle, and for the retailer having to manage the bottles in the back store, and for us having to pick them back up and sending them to the bottler, I think that cleans
the
them.
washer,
Yeah, the washer. Anyway, so yes, those are extra steps, extra work, but this is just one example. It will sooner rather than later have to apply to a whole bunch of different aspects of the way we live anyway. So we figured, might as well start with that, as far as we're concerned. And so, yeah.
Yeah, but we had doubts at the beginning when because if you go back in the last 3-4 years, I don't think there's a brewery that started with bottles as 100% of their production, barrelage and so on.
Yeah.
But so we said, is it something we can do? Maybe we will have to do cans on some products, or we look at these scenarios, but now I think it's sustainable for us as well to go this way. So maybe we would have hit a wall and say, okay, it's not sellable and we can't do business, but that's not the case. So
so far good, it works. I don't say, it's not to say that it's not extra work, I guess.
That's extra work, but that's okay. It's we
okay.
we have to do it.
What are you gonna do, right?
For now.
Well, yeah, for now, every 6 months or so, we do have the discussion. We do, bring it back up and try to figure out whether we're still on the right path, whether it still makes sense, whether it's still, workable, feasible for us, as well as the retailers, in general. But so far so good.
Let's say if there was a plant of aluminum can being built in Saguenay, so we have local cans, then maybe we would think again, okay, if it's local and less transport and so on.
Yeah, the footprint consideration.
So we're not blocked, but we have a clear preference to the bottle still. So we're not shopping for a canning machine.
Not just yet.
You guys want to hit the porter?
Yep.
The
Porter
porter
Framboise?
with
Absolutely.
an irrational amount of framboise.
Yeah.
I love it.
How do you like those
Very
descriptions?
Yes, they're great. I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. I will be right back.
I love it. Just while you're doing that, I got a couple funny comments here. This is actually pretty entertaining. Beer Naboza said, Orval's beer is like finding an albino moose. And then Benoit says, the difference is you can give he said, the difference is you can give a liver to be unimpressed by an Orval. The albino moose, you'll be impressed, whatever you give for it. And the Beer Naboza said, these folks are cool AF, great guests. They're loving you guys. So,
Cool.
I really feel like porters are a style that, like I was saying earlier, the Melilo, the OG porter, probably one of my favorite styles from you guys for sure. that didn't make sense. I said probably and for sure in the same sentence. I would say definitely is one of my favorite things that you guys have done. I feel like you really nail it. And this is the one with, I didn't show the camera, with raspberry. Tell us about this one with the insane amounts of raspberry. Oh, coming close to, we're doing the photos at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, tell us about this one, guys.
Yeah, sure. So these raspberries are coming from a farm in the Granby, which is just beside Shefford.
Okay.
And it's called La Ferme Petit Fruit. And they're doing organic raspberries, and which is quite rare because it's really difficult to grow raspberries organically. So they do that in a tunnel to make sure there's no fly, nothing, no insect come in. There's a sass to go in this tunnel, so that's it's not typical.
Okay.
To grow.
Yeah, it's like a greenhouse.
Like that. Yeah, that's a greenhouse basically. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so but it's expensive raspberries, and we put a lot of raspberries. So
and irrational.
This is a beer that we all. Irrational because the numbers doesn't jive on that beer. So we brew it only once a year because we like to do it, and we love those beers. And and in a dark beer like that, if you want the raspberry to shine, you have to put a shitload. There's no secret. You have to put a lot. So that's what we did.
That's what you did.
So I don't know to what extent your beer is has warmed up a little bit, but you don't want it ice cold, obviously.
It's a little nippy, but I feel like over the conversation it'll warm. But nice looking head again. Cheers, guys, as always.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So the nose is, and this is something Jonathan had mentioned a few months back. It's like a black forest, in the nose. Again, not a pastry stout. It's not sweet. It's not.
No.
The nose. You got a bit of that. Certainly, the raspberry, the acidic touch of the fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the Black Forest cake on the nose. It's 7.8%, which is pretty large for a porter. Is that somewhat similar to the regular? I don't think the regular porter is that high, right?
No, it's bigger than the regular porter. It's a similar base recipe, but bigger grain bill. So it's sometimes we call it robust porter, but robust in more in ABV point of view, because the dark malts, the roasted flavor are not over the top. So we use a de-husked dark malts, so just to make sure we don't have too much toasted flavors. So it stays smooth and not too harsh, despite being a big porter.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for 7.8%, it doesn't drink like a rich beer at all. It's pretty easy drinking.
Yeah, it's light enough in the mouth. I find.
Yeah, there's some sweetness, definitely, but
not too much.
It's a bit again on the drier side of the style.
Yeah. It's kind of tannic. It's not acidic so much as there's a subtle tartness that at times can react with darker malts, I find, and create like an astringency. And this is like dancing that line a little bit. But I think it works.
I agree.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you do a barrel-aged coffee robust porter with my friend Monsieur Jason Gawit? Was that a robust porter?
We did that.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah. Yes.
Craig met Jason once on the podcast.
The drunkest man of all time.
He crashed the Shawnee podcast, and he was
off his head.
30 beers in, at least.
It was very funny.
He was just.
And Noah's like, he's not normally like this. He's like, never seen him like this before.
I
He's quite a character on his own, though.
Yeah. Character's a good description.
I love him.
Yeah, this is super interesting. I really find that dark beers with these sort of red juicy fruits are just such a fantastic pairing because they really elicit that cake kind of thing, but without being pastry.
For me, they can really be hit and miss because I find a lot of the time it just ends up weird and astringent. But when it works well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to mildly interrupt just in case my camera dies because then I'm going to change to the webcam. But I want to take the screenshot for the thumbnail, if I may now, just before that happens. So you feel free to hold up a couple of beers. I'm going to have to get the Rousse in my hands, mate. Don't worry about that.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Team Rousse.
Team Rousse. Don't worry about lactose. It's all about Rousses now, guys. Okay, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that is stunning. I'm sending it to all of y'all. Oh, that is gorgeous. Perfect. Thank you guys. Yeah, no, you're right. There definitely is can be an interesting sort of hit and miss with this style, but this sits kind of nicely. The 7.8, it's not over the top. On the higher end for a porter. What makes it? What brings it to the higher end? Was it just the grain bill, or was it the addition of the additional sugars from the fruits?
There's some contribution from the raspberry, but the grain bill itself is a bit bigger than this one. So yeah.
Why is that? Why did you decide to beef this bad boy up a bit?
Good question. And the first, we spoke about the coffee beer we made with Jason. The first edition of the Porter Framboise was the same base beer that we split in two. And so we tried that with the raspberries. We found out, okay, that's great. And we that ABV for this beer. It's not more complicated than that. It was working, so we stuck with it. But it could also work with the smaller beer, I'm sure.
Okay. I feel like there's something to be said.
Like a lighter beer, you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said about this ABV though. Like on the higher, I mean, it's not the high. Obviously, you can get Baltic porters and those type of things that are barrel aged and that are pushing double figures and all that type of stuff. But there's something. Yeah, I feel like it's a valuable. It was a smart choice, I think, to sort of ramp it up a bit and then balance out that ABV with the fruit because you give it a little bit more of a not even about the body as much because you've already got mouthfeel and stuff like that like completely nailed. But more just there's a little bit more beef to it because of that ABV and that fruit, and it feels like just a nice dessert beer. I was talking. We had a podcast last night with a brewery in Vermont, and I was talking to them about matching. They have a kitchen, and they were talking about matching they did a blackberry rhubarb wheat ale, and they pair that with a blackberry rhubarb pie. And I was like, oh, I mean, on paper that sounds great, but I think with desserts you're supposed to pair something different, and this would be a great dessert beer because it's not overly sweet. It's got the sweetness to it, but you could have something that's like hella sweet in a dessert way, and then complement it with this that has a bit of those same elements, but it's not this sugar bomb that maybe a pastry or something would be. Like a pastry would need to be with something. A pastry stout would need to be consumed with some sort of more subtle, less sugary dessert, something like that. So I think you've delivered like a really interesting product with this in that ABV range. I think that was the move. Very cool.
Yeah, no. Now that you mention it, I see a chocolate fondant with this beer. Yes. I'm kind of craving one now.
Uber Eats. Do they deliver to Shefford, Quebec?
Not sure. I'm not sure I'm gonna get one here though.
You need to start. Hey, there's a business opportunity. Sorry, go.
No, I was just gonna say, but like again, I feel like you're kind of dancing that line between touching on the almost not too dry or too tannic, but it's like dancing that line, like the same with the porters. The mouthfeel on this isn't huge, and it's pretty dry and there's acidity, but it's not like sour and it's not astringent, but there is like a subtle tannic bitterness to it. All this to say, it has a very red wine like quality to it that's kind of unique, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean now. Yeah, now that I'm drinking it and really tasting it, I get what you mean. The
tannic.
I'm you know, by nature, I'm absolutely not a dark beer drinker at all.
Okay.
Every now and then, when I have to, I drink it, and so yes, I see what you mean. It's
yeah, this is gorgeous. Benoit was actually saying your porter is one of the best like OG porters in Quebec. He hasn't had this one, the raspberry one, but he's confident it's the bomb. Sir, I can confirm this shit is great.
Good old Benoit. I love Benoit.
What a champion. Yeah, like this is just a really great addition to that. I just feel like you have such an interesting rounded portfolio of products, and it's super cool because it's not only do you have a great round, like you could convince even the most, people like me who don't particularly like the phenols and stuff, and your Bière de Table is fantastic, and I imagine you probably do a grisette, and I think I've had your saison too, which was solid. So like you've got
you had the saison, I think.
Yeah, I've had the saison for sure, but I imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like you've got this whole rounded thing, and on top of all of that, on top of just the stylistic variety, you've got the fact that you've got local, organic, and you grow most of the stuff yourself. I mean, that's like such a you're ticking so many boxes in what you guys do, and something that we haven't talked about yet. You're sitting on your beautiful like beer garden. That people can now legally come to because terraces are open.
Yeah.
We should definitely talk about that because that seems like quite the experience to be able to come to the farm. Right behind you there is obviously the retail store, and you've got. Tell us about the terrace, and I think you call it. Is it a beer garden or terrace? I'm going to probably maybe wrong way.
Well, I don't know, potato. Terrace in English and French, I suppose. Beer garden. It's the English version of the German word, which is where I think it originated. Yeah, where it originated from. Unfortunately, it's very dark now, so you can't see much. But we're basically sitting on a south-facing hill, coteau. Not sure what a coteau is but basically, slight slope, and so we're facing Mount Shefford, essentially. So, there's a bit of a valley, down the hill. So you have like a fantastic view. We have all these picnic tables that are laid out on the beer garden. What you see behind us is a container. Really, it's a container that with doors that open to a bar with taps, and so we put the fridge in there with some of the merch, and so you come just to chill. Last year, with every week that passed, it was just getting bigger and bigger and crazier. By the end of the summer, we figured that it was a good time to close down because of COVID and everything was, getting slightly out of control, but still, all in good measure, if I can say. And so now we have different rules. It's only 2 per table, so it's definitely more controlled. A bit more stringent in the sense that it's not as easygoing as it was last summer. But are we still there?
Yeah. My camera died.
Oh.
And I had to just bring it back in. Webcam time.
So
okay, cool. So you're back in action now. People can come by as of right now.
But just 2 per table.
We're opened. Well, actually, we teamed up with Churras Barbecue. It's two Brazilian guys that do Brazilian barbecue, so it's like absolutely delicious. They came to our beer garden twice last year for like our first anniversary, and then the last weekend for Thanksgiving, and you know it was really a good time. The both times that they came, so it was really fun. And to be able to open this year, we figured that we would team up with them to function as a quote unquote restaurant, in a restaurant mode, if I can say so. You know, they are the kitchen, and well, we serve the alcohol. So we teamed up with them for the whole summer. Even though the rules are going to change, you know, still going to be there on weekends. But as the colors of COVID evolve and as the rules evolve, our terrace is going to be opened more and more days, and hopefully 7 days a week in July and August, when everyone is on vacation and driving around and not taking planes to go elsewhere on vacation. So
I feel that, you know, even if things do like open up in the borders, I don't know how many people are really going to be rolling that dice just yet. It seems like it's probably smarter. I think it's an interesting time, because last summer there was like a whole bunch of like, I don't know, like, is it going to open? Are we going to just finish? Is everything going to be cool? I remember even last summer there was, my partner and I are super COVID conservative. We've been like basically just staying home and not doing shit. And then last August, we worked with the Quebec City tourism office. They had barely any cases, like 1,200 or 1,400 or something. So we went there, and it was weird. That was the last time we drank at a establishment. And we did like a vlog. Then we went to Gaspé. I've never been to Gaspésie before. And they had 200 cases in the whole region, but they still wouldn't let two of us in the office of the hotel we stayed at to check in, type of thing. So they were very cautious even with no cases. And so we took advantage because we were like, oh, this is the last time. Things are about to get real. And then things got pretty real. But then now I'm like, all right, this is the first summer where we know, well, even if the border opens, do you really want to go to the States and go to Vermont again? I don't know. Probably not. So I think it's this summer where people are aware that there's a bit of, we're going to be, the provincial border to Ontario is still closed, technically, as of right now. So there might be more people who are looking to do more things locally when it's sort of safe. And I know here in Montreal, we're in the red zone, but patios are open, but indoor is not, and I think it's in like next week or something like that. It might start again, or it is starting again. So, there definitely looks like there's going to be some. It seems like it's partly like, fingers crossed, it's hopefully going to be safe, and more people are going to be able to, enjoy the terraces this summer with maybe more, expectation, knowing that maybe the big travel isn't really on the card, so they're going to want to do things locally. Support local, and this whole situation of this last year is really, it hasn't really shown us all that like local, how important supporting local is. Like particularly a business like you guys, people, we need to make sure that you're here when all this nonsense ends. So I feel like people have really made sure to support. I'd actually be curious. We didn't really touch on it for 2 hours, which is pretty dope because it's kind of boring to talk about. But given the circumstances, we probably should briefly touch on it. Like, how have you guys needed to pivot at all during all of this time, and how has the community been with you guys?
So the only big move, actually two big moves that we made because of COVID is, as I said, is opening up the beer garden sooner rather than later, just so that we could have people come and meet us if we were not able to go out there and have tastings at different retailers. Was one thing, and the other thing is we purchased more equipment. We had a deal on additional fermenters, and so we were able to secure financing for that. And we figured that this was as good a time as ever to increase the capacity to where we want to be. even though we were not necessarily planning on using the fermenters or anything like that away. We decided that, well, we thought it was going to slow down, but then it didn't really slow down, at least not for the beer industry, for sure.
No.
But yeah, we
went for the long run. We went for the long term, and we said it took longer than we anticipated, but the decision were made for the upcoming years, not the upcoming month. So wasn't so tough to go through. We have the beer garden, but most of our sales are done by distribution. So and this part was still holding together. So was
but at the same time, having the beer garden, I have to say, we obviously making beers, making beers from local ingredients. We wanted to be this local. We're not a pub, obviously. We're not a bar, but we wanted to. Well, at least I wanted that. I'm not sure Jonathan had that in mind necessarily, but I wanted to have this, to be this little hub for, for the Shefford community, for even people from Granby or from Bromont, who's not too far from here, or whatever that matter. I wanted to be this little place where you can come and sit down and chill and chit chat, either with, your friend, your partner, or with, just some neighbors or your group of friends. So that's really what I had in mind. I did not think that we would be big with people from the city or people from, far from, hold on, I'm getting tired. From farther, in the province, I really had the.
It's that 8%. It's the 7.8% porter. It starts to get to you.
Too much.
I forget words.
The unreasonable amount of framboise.
No, the irrational volume of raspberries. And the sugar is going to Mara's head, and we've all been there because I can't remember words like 80% of the time. Please continue. You're doing fantastic.
So yeah, all that to say that when we opened the beer garden, we started having people, come over, and so week after week, we started seeing some regular faces, just coming back week after week, and so by the end of the summer, I was like, okay, this really worked. I don't know what the percentage is. Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 50%? I'm not entirely sure, but like a good percentage of the people that came to the beer garden throughout, the 2-3 months that we were actually open last summer, were people from here, from, like locals from Shefford, from Beaumont, so that was, to me, my biggest satisfaction, knowing that we opened this little place that was cool enough and fun enough and zen enough for people to want to come back week after week for, a drink, a night. So, the local response was really good for us. And so for I'm not going to say most of them, but like a good number of them, they came back throughout the winter for, to buy some bottles, because we had this like tiny little like boutique that we, decided to open inside the, inside the brewery, just to keep contact with, with our customers, with the people that, local people that like our beers and that want to continue to, keep that contact with us. So, yes, the response was really good. And at the same time, we had like a whole bunch of people from, from elsewhere in the province, and a lot of people from Montreal who just wanted to go, into the open space and not be stuck in the city during COVID time. So for sure.
Yeah. But that was for sure motivation. When you see that and you see the people that come and like the place, you get up out of bed in the morning and you work hard and you know what you're doing it for, and that's the best reward.
Yeah, a big satisfaction for us, for
Absolutely.
sure.
I love that. And to echo that, Ben was just saying, he said, local shops and artisans are the most important relations going forward. Less than 10-kilometer radius, customers are your core, then you expand as you go from there. And I feel like a lot of people, particularly maybe outside, maybe even within the city, I feel like that's actually a pretty good point. And it's kind of like, that's what the customer base have sort of done. They're like, all right, well, what's down the street from me? And then I can't get that. Then what's the next? You keep going within that local radius. And then it becomes like, okay, well, what else can I get in Quebec? And then they'll come out and they'll see you guys. And I might go buy some cheese locally. And I know Granby has an amazing absinthe-free. We went there one time. It was amazing. They make the blue gin and all that shit, which is super dope. Just like this young dude doing this crazy stuff. And, you can go from there. Then, so it sort of like expands. I think one of the wonderful things I really enjoy about Quebec is that passion for local. I think people in Quebec are some of the most loyal clientele that I've ever, seen. I've been here like 9 years, but even just coming from an outsider's-ish perspective, like I just feel like and say even traveling for beer, everyone in beer really loves their local market, which is super dope, and that's why craft beer exists. But I feel like there's this extra passion in Quebec for all things local, and it's a really wonderful thing, and it's really like why a lot of people come here, and why a lot of people here are so proud. There's just so much. What can't you get here? Everything's awesome. Like it's super cool.
Yeah, and it I don't know if it was inspired by or it just happened to be the same, but I noticed that's as you'll find in Vermont or even New York, that very strong sense of local source ingredients, local shops, local community. We're lucky enough to have that here in Quebec as well, for sure.
Yeah, definitely agree with Vermont. Like you go to the restaurants there and they'll have like the beef was sourced by this farm 5 kilometers down the road. They could tell you the name of the cow or whatever the hell that you're eating. Like Vermont is like, very similar. Like I feel like we should just eradicate that border and just absolve Vermont into Quebec. I feel like they're more like us than they are like America. I love you Americans, but like I feel like Vermont people are like Canadians. They're the most Canadian Americans. I feel like we could just figure that out a little bit. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. Is there anything else we want to touch on? I feel like we're coming up on 2.5 hours here. I feel like we've gone through a lot of the stuff here. Was there anything else we want to make sure we got to this evening?
I think we're good for tonight, but
I think we've talked a lot.
Yes,
but we can do it again sometime, and then we'll find something else.
Right? It's always the way.
I would love to come see you guys. And, I'm just craving. I'm craving coming out to the townships and just taking in all of it. I love it. I love going to Dunham. I love going to Sutton. I'm good friends with Pat, and I love what he does there. And I haven't been out a year and a half, at least 2 years. I would love to come
you're
see you
most
guys.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying to do I want to get my partner Tiffany Hurt. She's our producer for the podcast, but her birthday's in mid-July, so we are idiots and are trying to book that now, which is like good luck. But we're just trying to get away, like to do like just something for like a cottage where I don't even care where it is, just somewhere in Quebec for like a week and just be able to chill and then be able to cook. Like the aim, from what I can tell, within a couple of hours. And you guys are in the Laurentian, so I guess it's not too far. So I'm really hoping to do that this summer as well, and just have a change of scenery for a little bit, and like exactly like
Absolutely.
the way you guys just described it, just to sort of breathe some air and get out the city for a little bit and just see
it's
it.
very chill.
Yeah, like I know you were so kind to invite us out there for this tonight, Mara, which was super dope. And as much as I would have loved to do it, it wasn't able to happen. But doing just visiting breweries, it's even just weird to think about visiting breweries again. It's been so long. I haven't been to a brewery in Montreal since February, probably last year, not this year.
Wow.
And you know, aside from the Quebec City and Gaspé stuff, when everything was kind of open in August, but that was about it. Like it all feels so foreign at this point, which is kind of unfortunate, really, right? That like this is what we all, even I know you don't get out as much as I do and stuff. You have a lot, you have family and stuff, but like even you, like I would catch you at beer festivals and different things. Even sometimes I'd meet you after work and we go for Noah would work downtown. I'm here in Milan, so we would go and meet and whatever. Sometimes we'd grab a drink or something, and we don't get to do that stuff anymore. So I feel like we're also like just being pulled away from that whole culture of partially why we got into all this stuff in the first place.
Breweries are still out there. You don't have to come out.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. Now that things seem like it's getting to a place where it's all good, and the terraces are open here. I was walking outside today, and there were people eating at restaurants and stuff, and I haven't seen that. That was weird. Even just seeing people eat at restaurants, like, what are you doing? Why are you there? Like, it's it was interesting.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely, everything seems safe and cool and chill. So hopefully that continues, and we can finally just move back to where we were. But yeah, like hopefully we both can get out to visit you guys this summer, which is, I would absolutely love that. But
two persons per table, me and you, buddy.
Me and you.
We're gonna rub beards together.
With a mask on.
Yeah.
That's not even beard. Social distancing doesn't count for beards.
We're a couple anyway, so we don't really have to.
That's true. It doesn't even count. It doesn't even count.
If we make love on the weekends, we don't need to worry about
the distancing. Then that's a great point. You're a smart man. No, guys, this was awesome, man. I'm really glad to finally actually see your faces and talk to you guys. I feel like we've connected for a few years now, and been sort of Noah and I both been enjoying what you're doing from afar, and to actually hear the stories from both your mouth. It's always like, this is why these podcasts are so cool, because we get to actually hear the stories from the people behind it, and I think that's just so wonderful to really see the motivations for it, and to drink the beers and hear you describe it and know that we're all Team Bruce, and it's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate all of your time, man. This has been super, super cool. Even Ben White, he's like, thanks La Ferme for the beer you are producing. Follow what you love. The beer is fire. And that's it. Beer and a Bozo was awesome indeed. So I feel like you guys have definitely made an impact on the people out here. Where can everybody find Brasserie La Ferme online?
Wow, we have over 200 points of sales.
Most specialized depanneurs. You can go online on our website. We have a list of retailers.
Fantastic.
So it's not 100% up to date, but most of them are there. So that would be the best starting point.
And we distribute ourselves. Oh, that's you, Craig.
I'm gonna put that on mute.
So yeah, we distribute ourselves between Sherbrooke and Montreal. On Highway 10. That's our axis really between Sherbrooke and Montreal. That's where we distribute. We also have points of sale elsewhere that are distributed by Bucky Distribution, and so yeah, a lot of pretty much all
Quebec City, Centre-Ville, Saguenay. We have a few spots in
all of the specialized depanneurs for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and some supermarkets, but those that have a decent beer section, yeah, we're out there, if not at the brewery, of course.
Of course. And what about on social media and things like that? Can people find you?
We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and that's about it. I mean, we also have a website, of course, but yeah, not. Yeah, we try to keep the website current, but it's just so much more work with everything else. But I do post regularly on Instagram and on Facebook, showing either the hops, how they're growing, or the rye, or whatever other cereal is in the field. So yeah, we're there.
I love it. And Uncle Noah, where can everyone find you online, my friend?
Uncle Noah is available at beerism.ca, the website, and on Instagram as beerism.ca as well for some reason. And on Facebook, I'm Beerism. Where can we find you, Craig?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you for that easy handball right there, as we say in Australia. Both of you, stick around. I'm going to wrap this up. Stick around afterwards, and we'll say goodbye properly. But yes, you can find me at CWFOR on Instagram and Twitter. This is the wrong podcast to say that on. Guys, thank you. I do multiple podcasts. I'm always confused. Everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the app, you can follow me there too. I'm there, but you don't give a fuck because it's not talking about beer. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast, and check out the long form audio so you can hear attractive individuals like Noah, Jonathan, and Myra talk about craft beer. We'll be back next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys then. Peace.